All right, check one, two, check one, two. Testing. How's everybody doing? All right, all right, all right. I just listened to a great audiobook over the last couple days. Hello, hello. I just was listening to, finished listening to Green Lights, written and spoken by Matthew McConaughey. It's kind of an autobiography slash advice slash encouragement slash inspiration slash yeah, all those things kind of book. But it's great. I highly recommend it. uh, I like him as an actor and I like him as a person from what I've seen. He sounds like a pretty cool guy, sounds like a great guy. And yeah, great book. So just if you need some encouragement, if you need some, I mean, who doesn't need encouragement every now and then, but and if you need to be humbled, I think it has some good advice on that too. So whether you're arrogant or you're humble, if you need some encouragement or you need some notches down, I think it's a good read. Anyway, just been on my mind a lot lately. So here we are back with Mr. Reeves, another good guy from all I've heard. Everybody only has good things to say about him, and that's awesome. So I feel like we're pretty much there with the facial features. I got to work on the more minutia here of like the vein kind of popping into the forehead and then just drop in the mouth, the jaw, opening it up a little bit, and then I'll probably do a little bit of pore detail, but not too much because I know that the scale I'm going to be printing it at. I mean, it'll show up. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how far I go with that though. I don't want to go too bananas with it though because I know that to a certain degree it just won't you won't physically be able to really register that unless you use a magnifying glass. So, but it'll be about 1/6 scale, so he'll be about a foot tall, and then his victim, the guard, the last guard in the lobby scene, he's getting kicked in the head. He'll be about a foot tall as well. So the whole piece will be about 2 feet tall, kind of. It'll be pretty big, just like kind of similar to the Cupid, my original Cupid piece. I got to get back to that second one eventually here, but anyway. So let's get rolling. If you guys have any questions, basic or advanced, if I can answer them, I will. Hopefully they tie into what I'm doing here, but if they're not too far of a stretch, I can see if I can address them. Um, Chris, yeah. Yeah, no, it's great that he's actually reading it too, because it's really he doesn't just read it like it's like he's telling you a story, like as if you're having a conversation with somebody and how they articulate. Obviously, it's very succinct and well written in that sense, but it's written in his voice as it's from his journal. A lot of it's from his personal journal, and he puts in those little touches that only a person who is speaking in their own voice can put. So yeah, it's great. It's a great book. Fantastic. Ryan, hello sir. How you doing? All right. All right, all right, all right. So let's drop let's do the forehead. That's always fun. So I'm going to zoom in here improperly just so I can get in that area a bit better. Mm. Too thick. Excuse me. Haven't done a lot of speaking today, so I'm a little, little phlegmy. Gotta clear it out. Sorry. That's about right, I think. Almost. smooth it out a little. Sorry, just adjusting my chair. All right, I'm doing well, thanks overall. I'm wrapping up on a big project that I've been working on for far too long, and I can't wait to be done with it. So that's always a good feeling when you're near the finish line of something that's been a pain. Trantor, the troll. Oh man, anything with the word troll in it, I'm always wary of. But you say you love my work, thank you. I appreciate that. Trying to just build it out more. Exodus, how's it going, peeps? Yes, sir. Can't complain, I guess, right? Yeah. I just thought you were going to use the damn standard brush for the forehead. I might actually for just for that indentation. Yeah, but I like the /3 a lot actually. I kind of go with /3 more often than damn standard. So I'm just fading in and out just to get a look at the shape underneath. So some things here are a little off, so I'm gonna have to smooth out and revise. Like this area is a little off from whenever I first did it a year or two ago. So I'm just gonna smooth it out and just sort of start over with this. Turn on the scan just to compare. All right, good. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so somehow this got off. That's interesting. I thought I had it right on, but I guess not. Or maybe I just had it too zoomed out when I was originally doing it. But again, the original was just all work in progress. So just smoothing out. And then we'll get that expression back in there. If you guys have never seen Keanu's runs in at his training at Terran Tactical, look up YouTube videos of him training at Terran Tactical. Freaking awesome. I can't wait to go there someday in the near future and try my hand at the whole course. It's his speed, dude. It's scary good. It's awesome. And there's some ladies who are really good too. Like my God, Terran has some crazy talent coming through there, and I think his training is just really solid. I guess like however he's instructing them, man, it's like competitive shooters. You know, basically, kind of is the process, but it's also like you know on point for self defense for gun usage. It's pretty awesome. So I'm just getting a little bulge there, and then I'm smoothing out just to kind of get that area raised. Another way to do that, but it's less precise, would be using the move brush. Cool trick for those who may not know. Hold Alt, tap and drag, and you can raise it according to the normal, which is always cool, because if you don't hold Alt and you just do that and drag, it's just going to go that way. It's just going to be like a plane against the camera, or the, you know, from the camera's perspective. So you hold Alt, tap, drag, and you can pull it out toward the camera. So that's helpful. But in this case, it could help a little bit. But I think it's better to have a little bit more control with actually just drawing out. Another good brush to do this with, and so I turned this down to Z intensity, but another good brush to use is the Form Soft here. It's a more gentle way of kind of raising the underlying forms without disturbing everything so much. It's kind of a mix between standard and inflate. I love that brush. The name is from Ernest Scared Stupid. Oh wow, a movie you loved as a kid. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I never saw that movie. I never got into the Ernest movies. I was aware of their existence, but it never was my thing. All right, switching to /3, dropping down the intensity a bit because it's pretty strong. And I'm going to undo that because I know that was off. He's an actual monster troll. How's the channel going? The channel's going, guys. Also, for anyone watching, if you're on YouTube or I guess on Twitch, I forget if you can actually, yeah, I guess you can like stuff on Twitch or you can heart it. But yeah, if you guys can, they're just trying to gauge more stats, I guess, or whatever. So Pixo was asking me if you guys could, if you're enjoying the stream, please give it a thumbs up, whether you're watching now live or you're watching later in the future. When this is on demand, please, if you enjoy the stream, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, please don't do anything. Keep it positive. Is that line actually there? I wonder. It is. Okay. Bring that back. And I'm going to use a standard brush and actually make a little indentation right there. I think I could use a little bit more. A friend of mine was telling me, like, oh, you really want to get that project done, don't you? About my other project I'm trying to finish. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to get it off my plate. And they were like, you should just don't stream today. You should just do that. And I'm like, nah. I mean, I'm loving this though. This is fun for me. This is a piece this particular piece that I'm working on from this scene is what I've had in the back of my head for years, and I've never had the excuse or the time to really do it. Excuse me. So I'm actually very grateful that this kind of forces me, kind of keeps me accountable to getting it done. So I'm actually really looking forward to printing this and getting it in a physical form sooner than later. And yeah, and I really want to get back to the other pieces I started a while ago, which I just have gotten a little tired of, or sort of at a standstill, which is like the Cupid piece that I've been working on, the sequel to my original, and as well as the Mufasa and the Clouds piece. I want to get that printed too. So I'll probably be printing one after the other here in a minute. I mean, like, you know, a couple streams. And I'll see if I can get an extension cord long enough to bring the webcam in there. If not, I'll just record some of the process, and then I'll just share the video here with you guys to give those of you who've never seen the whole kind of workflow of actually getting something to print. And it's really showing you how we, you know, how a lot of masters and or maquettes and prototypes are made for, whether it's for a toy company or for a maquette for a director or producer, for art directors to actually see a physical maquette, you know, the which is just a small scale model of, you know, characters, creatures, objects, whatever is going to be in a movie. It's really cool. It's really exciting to see something that's someone has either conceived of or you've conceived of, you sketched it out, maybe you've sculpted it then, and then actually physically see it and hold it and look at it. That it's pretty awesome, but also just gives you a whole new perspective on what you've made, and then what could maybe be refined or improved. Because it's one thing to see it on the screen, even if it looks really realistically rendered, but it's another thing to really see it in real life. So it's always interesting. Sometimes most of the time it's exciting. Sometimes it's actually like disturbing or upsetting because you're like, you know, it doesn't look exactly like we were hoping. But that's also where, you know, you quickly, you have those experiences usually in the beginning of your journey of learning to 3D print, and as you get more experienced, you'll quickly see that you'll figure out that you don't want to sculpt with perspective on, unless, like I have it here on, but unless you know for sure, like in general, like your focal length or your, you know what you're doing basically. Because some people might be sculpting with perspective on or too much of it on, and it's usually better to sculpt with orthogonal views. But since this is an actual shot from the film, and I have a scan of his head that, you know, from Cyberpunk, that really helps solidify, like I can work in perspective and know that this is all as accurate as can be compared to you know, other methods without reference that's this tight. So there's a little line right there. Does that cut through? Yeah, it kind of goes right in here. Interesting. And then this is kind of deep too. So 1, 2, and then kind of there too. It's a little deeper. Just tighten up that jawline. I think there's a difference here between the scan and this shot, partly because it might just be the masseter muscle here, the jaw, you know, takes the mandible up and down. That could be tensed more, and also weight difference and age and all that can have an effect on why it would look different in this shot versus a scan from more recently. tight areas like this where the ear comes in contact with the face, they can be can get a little smoothed out sometimes from scans. But I'm guessing this is pretty close to what his ears look like in this angle. I won't change them too much. But, all right. Cool, looking good. Do a little save here quickly. Do a quick save. So /3 is the best for cases like a mouth, smile lines, forehead wrinkles. I mean, it's kind of personal preference, but I like slash in that it's cutting in, but it's the damn standard is kind of, excuse me, it's cutting in, but it's also kind of pinching together. So, you know, it sort of depends on your use cases. I think damn standard is good too. But I just kind of lean more toward the /3. I'm gonna talk about when he was training for John Wick 3. Yeah. Halle Berry is amazing too. Oh my god, yeah, she's wicked good. Pretty much anyone who goes through that extensive amount of training at Terror Tactical apparently is just a badass by that point. But yeah, I think he was there since John Wick 1, if I'm not mistaken, or at least John Wick 2, but I think all three. It's Keanu. What's up, Keyblade? You're zen. The hardest time I have with 3D printing is the support by a mile. Gotcha. Yeah, supports are a bitch. Sorry for the language. Supports suck, man. They are the bane of my existence too when it comes to 3D printing. It's all about placement and point, like the centimeter, scale or millimeter scale of the point of contact. The more you can reduce it while still maintaining their integrity, the better, of course, because that means a smaller removal point, right? Smaller area that's either a divot or a little kind of pimple raised area from their detachment. But invariably, there's always going to be some sanding involved or some filling of those divots or raised surfaces. And it's hard to really get around that. Yeah, unless you're able to access work on like a PolyJet printer. So like a Stratasys J750 or whatever the new one is. It's their top of the line $250,000 machine. I wish I could afford that, but that's a little bit out of my price range. But those things are the size of this desk. I mean, they're like the size of a big ass copier machine, and they're very expensive to run. I think they also come with some sort of like license in a sense where you have this service license or something where some guy will come out to fix things or change things, or I don't know. It's weird. I get it for the business model. I get it for the business side of things, but yeah, it's their quality is incredible, but the end results, and they're incredible because PolyJets, so they have a big build plate and they have these like printer, almost like a giant printer. Like if you think of like an inkjet printer, they have these giant jets that are connected on this, gantry rail, and it just kind of comes across this giant metal plate and extrudes or squirts out liquid resin, and it has a UV light attached right to the same area, so it kind of cures it as it instantly lays down the material. Sort of like, it's very similar to how the Form 3 and other SLA printers or LFS printers now work, where you have a laser bounce off a parabolic mirror and then a galvanometer, or the galvanometer, sorry, laser off the galvanometer, off the parabolic mirror, and it goes straight up into a clear tank of resin, and it, upside down prints the object. That light cures the resin, but the resin's just sitting there in a vat, right? With PolyJets, there's no liquid sitting anywhere. It's all in the containers that it's being squirted out from, and it immediately, as it's laid down, it has a certain level of viscosity. It's not like you could just, I don't think it's exactly like, water. Like, it's not like that. The viscosity is pretty thick. So the UV light cures that, and it can combine multiple materials, multiple resins at the same time. So it will squirt out support material, as well as your resin, and that support material then is a different quality resin, so you can dump it in either water or, you know, like some sort of, you know, acidic or acetone or something like, you know, I don't know, alcohol or whatever the chemical is that they use to dissolve it. So then all your supports that are holding up the structures that are, you know, over like an 80-degree angle or over a 90-degree angle, they're all being held by something that completely dissolves away. So the surface finish is immaculate because there's no real like fusion on the molecular level. You know, you're not creating a covalent bond, is what they're called in chemistry. So when you're devoid of that, you have these incredible finishes. This isn't done on a polyjet, but it's just, this was on a Form 3, but it's the same. You get the same just insane smoothness, quality, without having to sand anything. Now, this was printed like this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. This is how I printed this a while back. So this is like a alien skull from Echo the Dolphin. And let's see here. So it's printed like this. So all the supports were in the back. So that's the key. Is like you always want to hide your supports, put them in the least visible area if possible, but also think of things growing like a tree. So you'd always want things to branch out and be self-supporting. So if it's being printed from this point onward, you want it to go out like this, right? You never want to print like this, where it's the opposite, where you have all these points coming together, because then that's just asking for one of those points to, because you're putting so much weight on the finer points, you know. So if you have any fine detail or anything that's coming out, you always want it to have the heavier, the more base part, like a tree trunk, be the supporting underlying factor. That's just sort of like best practices. But yeah, it's sometimes hard to do that, and there's sometimes where you have to break the rules because maybe your area of focal, you know, detail is in an area that is not with fine points, or it's the opposite, and then you got to figure out ways of, you know, jerry-rigging it in a sense when it comes to how you orient it and how you grow your supports. And then that, of course, depends on if you're using an FDM printer like a MakerBot or an Ultimaker or, you know, what have you. Ender, I don't know, there's a bunch of them out there. Or if you're going to be using a stereolithography or a low-force stereolithography printer like Formlabs. So yeah, there's a lot of variables. But anyway, sorry for those who aren't into 3D printing. I'm sorry that that's probably annoying or Greek to you. But anyway, get back to this. But yeah, all that to say, I empathize, and there's not like a cure-all, fix-all, one solution answer though, because every print is unique, and so there's only best practices, but there's really no like, oh well, this is the answer. It's always, you know, a variable. Just shared the link on Pixologic Facebook page. You're probably done that already. Just a question: should you update your ZBrush version? Yeah, I should. I just haven't. I know. I'm guilty. I just haven't cared to, but I should. But I'm also not using the newest. You know, I'm not going to be rushing to use those newest features right now. But yeah, I'll upgrade. I'll upgrade here eventually. I did just install ZWrap on this machine finally, so we can I can show you guys how to use some of that for matching faces. It's pretty cool, pretty awesome. That sounds absolutely incredible. I hope those sort of 3D printers become affordable. So yeah, me too. I think eventually some of that stuff will become, or people will find other solutions, and they're already inventing some other really awesome printers that are freaky but awesome. So there's a kind that has a complete vat of gel, and they have at least 3 lasers that focus in precisely on different points in 3-dimensional space inside this vat of gel, and that creates the light where it's focused creates the proper level of heat, and is I don't know, that's the thing I don't quite understand or wrap my brain around, because when I think of the printer I use, it uses a 405 nanometer wavelength laser, and it's always whatever its final point of focus is. Nothing else is in between it and the resin except a thin layer of silicone or plastic and air, right? And glass. But in this printer, somehow the beam of the laser doesn't cure the resin as it's passing through it, but where it ends does. That to me, I'm like, how does the whole beam not have the same amount of heat and light dispersion as the point where it's ending. I don't get it, but somehow they have this vat of liquid gel being like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's being spun, or like almost like a blender. I think they have it swirling, and then they have the light come in, and so it cures within 3 dimensions of space, and that gel also acts like a support structure, a matrix that, no pun intended, that holds the the material that's being cured. And so then again, it's supportless, but it's in the vat of liquid that has a certain thick viscosity that holds up, whatever material you're making in it. So it's experimental. I forget what it's actually called. I'm sure you can Google it and see if you find it. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. And that's sort of it kind of reminds me of, we're getting to this point where because it's a neighboring technology. But if you guys remember the movie Starship Troopers, and what's the main actor's name? Casper Van Dien. His character gets stabbed through the leg by one of the arachnids at one point, and he survives, but it's like his leg is all effed up. And that huge puncture wound is then being, he's in like a container. It's sort of like what you also see in, what was it, in Star Wars, I think, right? There's a point where they just have Luke in a tank. Anyway, but they have him in this like matrix, like gel, and there's this robotic machine that's essentially like recreating his muscle fibers, and sort of, from the inner layers of every tissue, repairing it from the inside out, like layer by layer. It's pretty cool. And it just feels like we're so close to more than ever with 3D printing and 3D printing with cells, and we're the medical field and the 3D printing field are always, in this cool dance right now. And we're getting there. We're getting closer to that science fiction being science reality, and it's pretty awesome. Anyway, do you have a printer at home? What do you use? And is there anything out there under 2500 that you think is amazing? Under 2500, that's gonna be hard. I think you could get a Form 2 right now for around that price, actually. But no, I have a couple printers here. I have a Form 3, a Form 2, an Ultimaker 3 Extended, and an old MakerBot Replicator 2. The 2 FDMs are kind of in disservice right now. I have to kind of, like blast them with a blowtorch and clean out some of the clogs that have finally invariably happen in FDM machines, and I'm sick of it. I still want to use them for certain things, but they also release a lot of nanoparticulates that aren't really good to breathe in. So once I started hearing more about that and seeing how it's confirmed that it's really not the best for any kind of open air environment. Granted, now I live alone, and my roommate's room is where I keep all the printers and paints and everything I use now. So chemicals all stay in there, and I have the window open so I can blow out, air. And I'm on the second floor kind of too, so it's not gonna like nail people in the face if they're walking by, which is good. But yeah. So yeah, I have 4 printers right now. Probably gonna be swapping out my Form 2 for either a replacement or a Form 3 soon, because Form 2 is kind of dying. It's a little old. But yeah, for recommending, I'd say look at a Form 2, but also know that it's on its way out. That's just kind of like a downside. So you can get it cheap, and there's still a lot of materials available for it. It uses the same resin cartridges that I use for the Form 3. Uses the same build plates. The only thing that's changing is the fact that the printer itself is not, and the tanks will eventually stop being produced. But there's still an overabundance of resin tanks available for it, and the cartridges are always going to be available because the same as the ones we use for Form 3. So yeah, if you have 2500 to use on a printer, you can't go wrong with Formlabs. Their quality is what it's as close as you can get to a PolyJet printer like the one I mentioned earlier, but for a maximum cost for the Form 3 and Form 2, maximum of like almost $4,000. Which is nothing for that kind of machine. For the quality, it's nuts. It really is. And there's this giant gap. Like, Formlabs is kind of the cream of the crop, and then there's like nothing as good, except something that's $250,000. So it's like you're getting really comparable results. Like, I would say exactly identical results in the finish quality, like 98 or 95% of the time. It's just that it has supports where you have to remove them, and that's what it brings it down a few percentile, because the supports are when you break it off. Even if you get the really clean breaks from their higher, the more current version of their software for preparing it for print, you're still going to have some of those little divots and little pitting here and there. So you still have to do some extra finishing work on that. But it's still, you're either talking $4,000 or $3,500 or $250,000, and there's not really much in between. So there's this massive gaping hole of quality of price range, but quality is like neck and neck. So it's sort of a no-brainer. Like, just buy a bunch of Form 3s or Form 3L if you want a bigger printer of the same style, but just bigger, so it will match closer to the volume of like a J750. That's a great solution. The Form 3L is 10 grand, not cheap, but also still a really good price for the size. You can print like a motorcycle helmet will fit inside of the Form 3L, like as a whole piece. So that's pretty awesome. You print a human head, like that volume, like it's a big rectangular volume. The Form 3, it's more like a quarter of, no, 3/4 of a shoebox, kind of, a little bit fatter. So it's a big cube, a little bit longer, taller than a perfect cube. So anyway. All right, so we got to focus here on the, we're going to move down to the mouth now. I feel like forehead looks good. I'm going to do the, I guess they call it the nasolabial fold right here. So we're going to do, again, we'll do the /3. Might bring this up a little bit. Smooth out that area, smooth out the cheek a little bit. Got to remember that the light is coming from this direction, so it's going to make that shadow look harsher, which means it'll look deeper. Probably a little deeper than what it really is. But I still feel like this could go down a little bit more. And then same over here. All right, Mr. Anderson. Now we're going to drop the jaw. Do a little quick save first. Cannot wait for organs to be 3D printable. So many people will be saved. Yeah, I mean, we're getting closer and closer. Closer thing we got now is they can, sorry, that was loud. Closer thing we got now is they can strip the cellular matrix of organs so that it only leaves like the collagen, I think, and any kind of similar to cartilage, cartilagenish. Can't remember the word. You know what I mean. Any harder, firmer cellular structure that's just a frame, essentially, of an organ, like a kidney. They've been able to strip out any DNA or any identifying cellular material that would cause a person's body to reject someone else's organ, so the immune system won't attack it. And then they've been able to grow different layers of tissues onto that frame, on that framework, which is huge. So I think they were able to successfully do a kidney, from what I remember. But the problem was then that the kidney was like infant. It was like an infant kidney, meaning that it had no life lived, right? It didn't grow with a person. So how do you... So the problem, I think, was, if I remember correctly from reading, that the kidney failed, but it's because it couldn't handle the volume of process of the blood processing and contaminants that an adult lived grown kidney could. So while this kidney was still adult sized, its cellular experience was that of an infant's. So that's the question was now, oh wow, a question that we didn't know needed to be asked is how do you age or mature a kidney? How do you mature an organ, a liver? Well, livers kind of grow back themselves, which is great, but how do you mature an organ, a tissue? That's the next challenge, I guess, is figuring out how to mature, or I guess you could almost say fortify, right? Like strengthen, bolster an organ to be able to keep up pace with the adult human. So crazy, awesome, scary challenges, but we're getting there, I guess. They're getting closer, and I feel like it's just time. I feel like we're gonna get there. We're gonna get something similar, and it helps that it won't reject. The way they help it not reject a person is they take your own cells and culture them and then grow them over that matrix. So it's your own. It's like your own body. So your body doesn't misidentify it as a foreign object to be attacked. I'm gonna tighten up this area here quickly. Okay. Actual. Zoom in a little bit. And we're gonna go here, and so now we want to isolate the jaw, mask that, invert mask, blur the mask. Make sure that we're not gonna move the mouth like we did last time, but we do want the lower part of the mouth to move, so that's where we gotta unmask this area. Should have sectioned this off into being upper and lowers in this mouth bag. But I guess the best way I can do that is let's do it like this. All right, I want to make sure I don't get the tongue. And get that corner of the mouth. I think we're good. Tongue is going through the gums a little bit. Alrighty, so then we want to polygroup that. So now we come back, hide that, that, and that. And we're going to group that. It's the upper. The maxilla, soft palate. Alrighty, then we mask all that. Invert mask, make sure that's all good. And now we blur. Probably want to go back in, and so like there's certain things here you don't want to be moving so much, like the ear. Really don't need that lobe to be moving at all, so we'll just do a quick mask here. Excuse me. And we'll go mask here. All right. And double check. Make sure everything in here is good. Yeah, we're looking okay. All right. Reveal all. And Actually, I might do a little bit more like this, and then blur again, and go back in for the ear. Make sure that that's in line over here. Looks good. All right, I think we're good. So we want to rotate. So we want this, the point of rotation needs to be actually like up here, because that's where your jaw actually hinges. Right here. Sort of the base of your sideburns, essentially, in front of your ears. So I go somewhere like here. And I need to center it to his head. His head's at a little bit of an angle, so got to make sure that our gizmo is in the right position. You also notice that no one's nose and everything's not perfectly symmetrical, so things will be a little off here and there, and so still the jaw will basically still have to hinge in a more, balanced way, of course, so you got to make sure that you're accounting for that. So you think of this as like a bar going through the head and like a hinge. Alrighty. We drop. Go back to perspective, and we make this a little transparent, and we'll rotate. It's very slight. That's crazy with the way it cut out the image. It looks like his hair is like super slicked. This is more like his look from Devil's Advocate. Another great movie. If you haven't seen Devil's Advocate, woohoo, check that movie out. But make sure you don't have children present. It's definitely not a family film. It's extremely rated R for good reason. But man, that's a good movie. Whew. Good thriller. Dark as hell. All right, I think we're good there. All right, so now we're going to touch up the mouth. Do some smoothing here. Sorry, what is in the chat? Anycube Mono X, actually advice. It's interesting. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Rockas Ryusuki TV. Excuse me. Do you have any tutorial on sculpting the mouth bag? I don't have a tutorial on that, but it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you want to, sink in a bag that would be, compensating for the interior, like this. I mean, basically, you want to sculpt what you're seeing here. An easy way to find something like this too, or to practice, is to look at models that you already have access to that would be useful, helpful for you, which are included in ZBrush. So in case you didn't know, I'll show you. Come in here to Lightbox and just quick save, quick. Lightbox, tools, and right here you've got all these great human figures. Nick Z's are some of the best, for sure. So here is, if I hide everything else, here's Nick Z's mouth bag. So there you go. You can use this to study and see how he structured his. You don't have to do it exactly like this. It's just a good example. When I say you don't have to do it exactly like this, I'm saying that because, let me just isolate that quick. Like, for instance, the tongue here, it's integrated into the mouth. So it's in there. You don't have to do it that way. So here you go. So there's a tongue, there's a uvula hanging out there. So a lot of models will have the tongue separate, have the gums and teeth separate. So here the gums are kind of integrated in, but you don't really have to use them. Tongue is integrated in, again, don't have to use it. You probably want to have the tongue separate and the gums and teeth separate. But it's a good example of just how the structure, right, and how you should approach to making it. So I would say just learn from this, you know, and or use this as a base mesh to start. That's what it's here for. I mean, that's how all of us who are working in the industry begin a lot of our meshes. Is either some of us even use this exact mesh, and others will use something similar, or we'll use this and then we'll retopo it, or in general. But it doesn't really need that much retopoing. I mean, it's pretty solid, pretty good topology. But I know he's made some improvements to other ones, and he's made some different ones. It's not, you know, everyone will say human topology should be a little different here and there, or things could be better here and there, edge loops could flow a little bit better here and there, but in general, you know, talk to a rigger and they'll tell you what they would need or like, basically. But a lot of the good structure is here, and it's you know, maybe like you could avoid some triangles right in there, or stars, but you know, but I mean, in general, this is a solid mesh, so I wouldn't be afraid to use it, and actually have used it. Case in point, I believe this is that this is that mesh, if I'm not mistaken, or from some other. I forget where I got this head, actually. Maybe it's from that. It could be another one. I'm actually maybe not that one, because I haven't seen that there's not that same star here in the nose. But anyway, find good human base meshes to use and start from there. I think it's great to sculpt for artistic refinement, you know, to sculpt from scratch. But to sculpt from scratch, if you're looking to work in the industry, not much of a point to that. It's because, you know, they don't ever expect you to really start sculpting a human base mesh for a main character from scratch. That's just too time consuming, and that's pointless, really. It's like you're wasting time. You want to start with a good human base mesh that you are familiar with, and then just turn that into and or use ZWrap, which I'll try to show you guys here before we end, to match good topology. Like, take a scan of somebody and match it to that face, right? So that's what I would do. But yeah, if you want to learn how to sculpt a mouth bag, it's just like anything. You know, you want to be a good writer, read good authors, right? You want to understand how to sculpt a mouth bag correctly. Definitely take advantage of you know, models you might have on your machine already, and reverse engineer them, or just check them out to see how they're structured. That's how a lot of us learned. Yeah. So I hope that helps. I don't mean to be. I hope that doesn't come across as like, "Well, just do this." I'm not trying to ignore the question. This is honestly the best. I think that's the best way to go about it, is to look at great examples that are already there. Because I'll say it too. I mean, like Nick's work. I haven't sculpted that many human meshes from scratch. Almost none, I think, actually. I always start with some good base mesh and then go from there, because 9 times out of 10 they don't want you to have a generic looking character, you know, unless it's a far background character, then it really doesn't matter, probably. But so you're still going to have to sculpt on whatever you're working with anyway. So it doesn't make sense to make your work and your life 10 times harder by having to sculpt something from scratch and, you know, do all the retopology and everything else. Then it's just, you know, it's just a waste of time. I remember we had some issues with the projection. That's why the mouth is a little asymmetrical inside, but it doesn't matter, because we're not really going to see that much. Just want to make sure the structure's there. I'm going to have to give him teeth, though, too, because that will be visible. And I'll have to fill in the mouth, because, again, we don't need to see that far back into it. And if it's hollow like that and it's printed, there's just going to be a bunch of supports in there, which will look weird. So I'm probably just going to almost like swell the tongue so that the mouth comes to an end, or is even just like a little space gap in there after the teeth, you know, so that you don't really need to look inside and see that, because to clear all that out would be a pain. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Let's kind of get this back there, and let's see. So like the corners of the mouth here definitely are wrong right now. Like, they need to come in and be much more pinched, much more tight. So we're going to use the pinch brush and use it for what it's good for. I'm gonna mask this area quick so I don't interfere with other aspects. Oops. The sculpt is just for fun, right? Yeah. I mean, it's for my personal portfolio, I guess you could say. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Peter. Can you explain the face planes, please? I'm also making real face, and I'm told I need to work on face planes. Um, Thanks. I actually didn't pay attention to that. Shaking my head. There you go. Also, how did you fix the pic in the back? That's image plane. For the photo in the back, it's image plane. So there's another method where it has the three axes walls, and I can't remember how to get in there. It's been so long. I have to look that up. I'm sure you guys can find it too. But so for image plane, you come in here to texture. All the way down at the bottom of the texture palette is image plane. Click on here, load image, and then you just find the scale you like, and you'll see it up here. You just say load image, and then bloop, it'll just throw it up in the back. And if it's too big, just tell it here to go image less than 100%. Bring it down. If it's too small, bring it up. Reference views. Maybe no. This is for locking views, isn't it? I think it's for locking or different views. Yeah, that's like reference views. It snaps it like this. But yeah, I don't think it. Try to remember how that worked. Because there's a way you can get it where it'll create a box like this around it, but it'll have images front, back, left, and right, like front, back, top, bottom, all that. So you could do this and see images that line up with the face, but I can't remember how to do that because it's been forever. But anyway, so yeah, image plane is how you do what I was referring to. And oh no, we lost our image background. Ah, crap. Damn it. Crap. So, let's see, how do we get this back now? I'm trying to remember. Well, easy way to fix this. Easier way. Just say where we are right now. It's more direct and keeps things clean. All right, save. We'll just reopen our project quickly. Which has everything lined up. And we'll delete this guy because we came further than that. And then load in what we just saved. Load in our cameras. Or saved views, I should say. Bam. And we're back in business. All right. All right, so I'm going to go down sub D or two. And we can hide this area for now. So first things first is while there's a pull down on the mouth, that's not actually happening right here. He's not really doing this. It's more of a tightening back. So this kind of curved down right here, this sort of like, that's incorrect. So we're going to do some moving around here of the corners of the mouth. So image planes of the face. I'm not really sure how much I can explain to you about them so much as you just need to observe them. And I'm also not going to lie. I'm not going to say that I'm the biggest expert on the nuances of the planes of the face. A lot of it for me is just intuitive, and also, of course, using great base meshes or scans always helps too. But I'm not one to think of the face in too like hard classical terms anymore, just because that was early on. But I mean, if your instructor's telling you to learn images of the planes of the face, I mean, you know, it's helpful. Yeah. I mean, if you don't understand the structure of the face completely, it's definitely, you know, it's good to know them. But the best way to do them, I think, is to observe, find some drawing. I mean, you can find countless drawings online by just typing in planes of the human face. And they'll show you these really blocky, you know, areas of the human face. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel dumb saying like, well, here it is. But, you know, I mean, you can try to think of boxes sort of forming the face as much as possible, right? So you can think of like so think of like the corner of a rectangle, right? If you took a rectangle and shoved it into the face, you know, at a 45, well, maybe like a more like a, I don't know, a 75-degree angle, or 65-degree angle here. So you have, you know, you have these shelves. So I'll just ruin this for a second for the sake of education, and undo it. So you can think of this as a plane. Oops, come on, work with me here. Why is it jumping up there? It's weird. Okay, what the hell? It's weird it's doing that. All right, so you can think of this as, let me do it another way. I don't know why it's doing it, probably because the image plane. So think of that like as, that's the nose, right? So there's sort of a flat area there, and then the same thing can be said for these areas. Like think of them as like rock walls, right? And then just curve that out, right? Then just fill that out to the degree of curvature that the nose needs. Same thing can kind of be said for the face here. I mean, you can see that there's a plane here, like almost like a trapezoid kind of shape right here. I think if I can draw that in a way that would read well. So I'll just go over this really quick. Oh, shit. Okay. Fill bright red. And we want RGB, no add. This might not be perfectly symmetrical, but like, so this is a plane right here, right? That's basically, it's at an angle, right? And then you've got another general kind of plane. You know, you've got this kind of structure right here. That's another kind of, you know, kind of a pentagonal plane. You really almost have two, I guess you could say. Like, so that's one plane, and then this is another plane, you know, that kind of wrap around, and then another, you got, at least in this case, you have one right here. But, you know, when the face is more relaxed, it's still kind of the same, you know, because then you'll have these that kind of form the, you know, the roundness of the maxilla, the upper lip area. Then you've got your, you know, you've got like a box around the lips, you could say, like think of like a tube or a rectangle wrapping around the lips, and then you've got your other kind of trapezoidal shape here for the chin. And then you know that leaves a nice plane right there as well. And then, you know, same kind of thing. You got a plane like that, and then you got your square plane right here. I mean, so that's really, I mean, you know, I'm not sure how else to kind of lay it out there for you. This is sort of the same thing. I mean, you could just say like these are, you know, that's why when you look at a wireframe of something, that helps sort of define, if I bring it down to a low poly, you can kind of see, you know, more of the shape, you know, so that these would be your planes kind of going around. The eyes are inward, right? And then you've got, you know, more of a plane here. There's definitely like a line, so if you look sideways, you can see that, you know, it kind of goes like this right here. And then you've got your, you know, it kind of goes inward a little bit and then comes up again for most people's foreheads. You know, so, I mean, that's basically it, you know, and then you just got, you know, your temple, and then you're just your dome, you know. You've got, usually, most skulls will have this kind of shape too. They kind of have divots back here, and this area protrudes. And then there's that crest kind of the seam of the skull, you know, where you have all those, you have all your stitching of the skull, essentially. And then it kind of Y's out. Forget if it goes like that or if it goes like this, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so those are the basic planes of the face. Hopefully that's, I don't know if that helps, I'm sorry. But it's a sort of like, here it is, you know. I don't know if that helps, I hope it does. But That's just kind of like Art 101 kind of stuff. But we all had to learn it at some point in general, just kind of wrap our brains around it. And then it just comes with practice, you know, it's just kind of seeing where, oh, well, the zygomatic area needs to come out a little bit more, or this person doesn't have much of a zygote, they don't have much of a cheekbone, so then that kind of is more recessed. Or do they have a lot of buccal fat? Do they have none? You know, that'll be like the kind of the chipmunk cheeks. Like I have a fair amount of buccal fat. Some of the people have less. Keanu here doesn't have much. You know, he's got that nice sculpted, sort of sunken in, recessed area underneath the zygomatic area. It gives a nice defined, gives you nice planes, right? It gives you a nice recessed area right after the masseter muscle. You know, so different faces have different shapes, and there's different underlying tissues underneath all that. That, you know, you just take time to read up on it, and you know, even watch maybe like if you can stomach it without having any problems, watch some surgical videos to sort of see, like, look at plastic surgeon videos basically. I remember I learned a lot of this outside of the art field because I was majoring in medicine for a long time, and I worked in an ER for a couple years. And so then I would often have different doctors and surgeons come in and out of the department, and I would always pick their brains about things just out of personal curiosity. Then it was more medically oriented, but I always could have apply it to the art side, especially because that last year and a half that I was in college, I was double majoring in fine art and biopremed, so I had no social life, but I was getting a fantastic education in the real world, like real hands-on clinical work. So I remember in particular talking to a plastic surgeon that came down to help a burn victim, and I was picking his brain about the shape of the face and how can you alter it without like without you know major surgery, without like, you know, oh, if I wanted to lose a little fat in the face or whatever, like how would I do that without, you know, of course working out, but I mean there's certain amounts. I was like, is that just fat? Because I feel like even when I work out and I'm in really good shape, I still feel like I have these round cheeks. And he was just like, dude, yeah, there's this thing called the buccal fat pad. We can just sort of make a little incision in there and just like whoop, pull it out and gone forever. And it's not that drastic actually. And so he was talking about it and everything. Who knows? Maybe we'll get it done someday. But it's really cheap actually too. It's like $400 or $300. It's like nothing. But there's all kinds of different things people can do, and I'm all about, if someone needs to remove something from the body, cool, who cares? But implanting stuff, that's where I'm just like, ugh. Personal opinion, no, nothing. Don't put anything extra in the body that's not needed for survival. I'm a fan of au natural, everything. Don't stick anything in there that doesn't belong. Just remove stuff if you need to, if you really want to, but adding stuff, injecting stuff, no thanks. But hey, that's me. People do you, whatever. Anyway, sorry, tangents. So I'm gonna isolate the lower jaw here, and then grow. Slide that too, and then grow selection, so I can get just a bit more of the lips. I'm gonna hide some of this again, but so I want to get inside here a little bit so I can, because that drop off in there is a little too extreme. So this shelf in here on the inside of the lip is completely unnatural and does not help the aesthetic, because it has to curve gently inward, as you can see very clearly here. And as we all know how the shape of our lower lip is, it should not be like that compressed. So I'm going to hide what I don't need. And I'm going to go like this. And we'll grow a little bit more. We can mask that. And we can hide some of this. And some of that. All right. Let me grow it a little bit more. Okay. So now we want to kind of thicken up this lip, because it's really too thin, like especially in here. You know, this needs to all be more inward. So without further ado, we'll start. Hit smooth, hold shift, tap, release shift, keep smoothing, and that'll kind of bring things outward a little bit more. And hold shift, kind of bring things down a little bit. So it's already looking better. It's not like a hard like pinch, but we're still going to use a little bit more oomph with inflate. Turn on back face masking so we don't start inflating outward in the front. We're in the inside of the mouth here, so we'll just do some of this. Just want this to be, I want it to fill in the mouth a bit. Probably blur this a little bit more so we can get a little bit more reach. So yeah, sorry, going back, did the basic image plane drawing help at all? For I'm sorry, I forgot who asked that. Did it help at all? How to export our painted characters into other software? Oh man, that's super easy. You just have to make sure you have UVs though. You have to make sure you have UVs. Once you have UVs, so if you got UVs right here, then all you do is you have your texture map. It would appear here, and you'd want to just simply. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can export out each texture map individually by clicking in here. Let's say it's this, whatever. It's definitely not the right one. You say clone texture, it brings it over here. Now you see over here, you go into texture and it's inside there. And then you simply go to export. Excuse me. Choose your format, whether you want JPEG, Photoshop, PNG, bitmap, TIFF, whatever. Export it to wherever you need to, and voila, done. Same thing goes then for displacements or normal if you generate them, but those are different. But if you want your painted textures, you've got to export your texture map. That means you have to have UVs. So you got to make sure you have your character UVs. Other ways to do it would be the multi-map exporter. So you come into Z plugin, multi-map exporter. Here you'd want to say, if you need normals, turn on your normals. If you need ambient occlusion, cavity, whatever. But this one is the key for what you're asking about, which would be texture from poly paint. All right, so your poly paints, again, if it's UV'd, you can create a texture map from it. If it's not UV'd, you have to UV it before you can export out your painted characters. Then you'd have your export options here, so it gives you all these different options for displacement, vector, normal, ambient, cavity, mesh, whatever. So yeah, multi-map exporter just lets you do, as the name implies, multiple maps exported at the same time. So that's really convenient and fast. I think they should also make it to where you can put images on shadow box planes. Or can you? Yeah, you can. I just forget how to do it. That's exactly what I was thinking about. It's like you can do a shadow box thing where you can see this image for like front facing on the back plane. Then you get one on the profile, and you get one on the bottom, which you can view when you view it from the top. It's either way, it's good for that. It's gonna be complicated if you focus on the technical details. That was my first lesson. Yeah. Thumbnail looks like Betty. What? You're welcome. It's good advice. But I'll take a model of a head, sculpt from the forum or Lightbox, and run it through Decimation Master until it's very boxy to get. Oh yeah, that's some way to do it. Yeah. 3D impression of planes. I find it helpful to organize rough shapes. Sure, like natural jigger. Try to get me a few minutes. Is there a way to keep symmetry on when switching between subtools? Good question. I never really thought about that. I guess it does turn off between subtools, right? If you have one thing on, or does it? I don't remember. Yes, it turns out. Yeah, you're right. It's per subtool, I guess. Yeah, I haven't really actually thought to look that up. Guess not. I guess I don't think there is any way to keep it on while you're working on other subtools. Glad it helped. Why people why people's jumping out for UV texturing to external programs. ZBrush is fine. Well, ZBrush UVs are, depends if you need tight control. ZBrush is really not the best for UVing. It can be passable. I've definitely used it a lot, but the more advanced or more professional, or I shouldn't say professional because there's been a lot of professional scenarios where I've just done quick and dirty UVs and ZBrush and they've been fine. But for really tight controls, or especially if you need UDIMs, you have to go into something like Maya or Rhizome or UV headless layout. I forget if headless layout, if it does UDIMs or not. I don't think it does. Or does it? I don't remember. It's been so long since I've used UV layout. I hate this. I hate the interface, and there's gaps between when I use it and when I don't. So then I get rusty with it again, and then it just takes a while to look up everything. It's just I don't know why they have not. Somebody hasn't updated UV layout to be much more user friendly because its UI is like from 1994. It's just horrendous. Anyway, smoothing out the inner lower lip. And for anyone watching who's like, I don't understand half the things Daniel's saying right now, I'm sorry that there's a bunch of inside baseball basically being said here. It's simply in response to some of the questions that students or those learning are asking. And again, I mentioned it last week, but I'm offering private lessons, private tutoring, one-on-one, and or if I get enough people, a group class if they would like that. So if you would like to have some one-on-one teaching, if you need it, some mentorship essentially, or coaching in ZBrush, I am offering that now. You can find, basically, I did a little post about it on Instagram, my Instagram. So for those who may not know, sorry, one second here. For those who may not know, my Instagram is right there. And if you want to send me a DM, or you can just email me. You can email me at daniel@lion-arts.com. And just let me know what you're interested in. We can do a 45-minute session. We can do an hour or two. All those will have different price ranges based upon, the time. But, send me an email or a direct message on Instagram, and we can schedule a time to do like a Google Hangout or a Zoom call, and I can give you guys some private tutoring. If anybody would like to focus on their ZBrush skills in a more personalized way, and or have their questions asked directly, or have someone just to help them figure out whatever they're working on, that's all. It's all possible. So just let me know. And I'm gonna put together something a little bit more helpful and formal for ordering a session or two if you'd like on my website here eventually. Just been busy lately, as usual. So I'm hoping to get a bit of a break here soon so I can really focus on upping some of these things. I got this podcast I still need to get out and get some other people scheduled for it. So there's a lot going on that I've had in the works that have just all been kind of put on hold, unfortunately, because of projects and work. But I'm hoping and praying that come the end of this month and early April, everything's going to be pretty calm, and I can just focus in on the stuff I really want to focus in on, and or help with teaching anyone if they'd like to take their ZBrush skills to another level and they're just not finding what they want from online tutorials. It looks funny with the eyeballs. All right, let's zoom in here. And again, for anyone new who joined in a little later in the stream, if you're enjoying anything I'm saying or doing, please give me a thumbs up on the video. It's really not for me so much as it's Pixologic, but it's also just to let them kind of get some better metrics on everyone's responses to all that us streamers are sharing, and if there's anything we can improve on. Also, please feel free to leave a comment, a positive comment on the video, whether you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube or even on Facebook. If anything I've said is helpful, or if you're enjoying the stream in general, or if you come in regularly, just leave something nice to say. Again, it's not for my ego or anything. It's just Pixo asking us to ask you guys to give us some good feedback if you have anything, or if there's anything you'd like to see improved. Any constructive criticism, that's welcome too. But yeah, hopefully we're looking for some good stuff. Hopefully you guys have some nice things to say. So I'm just tucking in the lip here a little bit, just gently using the Move Topological brush. That was a little too much. Zoom in even more. It's going to get more pixelated, but it's the only way to keep everything in line. And then we'll add a little bit more of that edge here with the standard brush. So this is all essentially what goes into making a product. Like, this kind of work is essentially what goes into making these awesome collectible statues or cool toys. But I will say that the amount of attention to detail I'm putting into this is not the norm, only because it can be to some degree, but I mean, it really varies on just, I have an unlimited amount of time to do this. A lot of other times, you'll have people who are hired and they say, our deadline is X, we only have this amount of money, so you can only put this much time into it, or, whatever. I have the luxury of putting an infinite amount of time into this, so that's something I'm always happy to say or proud to say, because it means that I can make this better than 99% of what's out there typically. And there's not much out there, actually, of Neo, of Keanu's Neo. There's a pretty well sculpted Hot Toys figure out there. I've seen it online. But I really haven't seen any great sculptures. There was one really terrible sculpture I remember they released with Keanu or Neo, and it was some collector's DVD. I remember back when Suncoast, you guys remember that video store, that movie store, Suncoast? I remember years ago. If I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing some horrendous sculpture where it just looked terrible. It looked nothing like Keanu, and it was just god awful. And it's like the stuff I've seen from back then, and even currently, when because I worked for a company, theater, that wanted to make mass-produce small statues of a sculpture I made of Moses, this giant statue, and they sent my sculpture off, a 3D print of my sculpture, to China to have it be cast and molded, and there was all this preciousness around it and packaging it and all this concern, and then when it got there, they were like, oh, thanks for the reference, but we're just going to resculpt it ourselves and then chop it up and mold it. And so they did that, and then when we got the results, it was just like, it literally looked like a dwarf midget kind of like parody version of what I made. It was just horrible. It was like, just embarrassing. I'm like so glad my name wasn't stuck onto it still, because I was like, that's not what I did. This is like a horrible just, bastardization of what I worked on. So that was a bummer. But that happens so often in so many products and projects. That's why you still see such just garbage coming out of different companies and different products. It's because often it's taken to other countries, or they'll redo things without even asking permission sometimes, and then they just give it to you, and it's like, well, we have to launch now. We don't have time to, like, So then they might redo it and make a second edition or series later, but so often that happens where things go out of country or handed off to other people who really don't know what they're doing, and it just gets just trashed, and it's really upsetting. It's really frustrating to see, because so much of us want our work to look great, and then it gets manipulated or edited by other hands, and then it's not what you did, but it's a combination of all these other people, and then it's just a real bummer. All right, so this is getting too thin there, so I'm gonna have to see. So you can see there's interpenetration going on there where it's like passing through. So we want that inside area to be inside. So we're going to use move topological, hold Alt, and we're going to pull this in along the normals. So we need this extra thick because you don't want the corners of the mouth to break. When they're so thin, they can just break right off, and then you have this really weird looking face. So this all can be really thick and protrude inward, because it's not going to be seen, but it needs the outside is seen, and if it's broken here, it's going to look really weird. So we want to do this. So holding Control and tapping on your polygroup will mask everything but that group. Then we'll Control and tap to blur. So now we're not going to manipulate the outside, but we're going to manipulate the inside. So I'm going to smooth. That's thicker, but it's still not thick enough. I mean, I really want this to be a thicker wall. You don't want the face to get damaged if there's any bumping or just pressure applied at all. You don't need these walls collapsing. So I'm just going to pull all this in again because no one's going to see it. But we got to make sure that it's thick enough to stay intact. So this is some of the stuff you got to think about when you're preparing something for 3D printing that's different from anything in visual effects. Visual effects, you can have open faces, things that are just completely gnarly or just deleted in behind what's the facade, right? Just like any Hollywood set. It looks great right here, but then you walk around and you see it's all paper thin, or it's a matte painting, or it's like styrofoam and it's held up with like plywood and staples and duct tape, chicken wire. So that's one of the things that you can't fake when it comes to 3D printing something or modeling something that's going to be CNC'd for even giant set pieces, or if they're going to be running around in them, people are going to be walking on something. You can't really cheat things too much because you need to have them be structurally sound. They have to be engineered properly. Otherwise, you'll have structural failure. And best case scenario, you could patch it up with a little bit of putty and glue or resin. Worst case scenario, if it's something that someone's running around in, they could die. They could fall off the set or injure themselves, and you got a lawsuit, and you've got to stop production and nightmare. So always best to dot your I's and cross your T's when it comes to creating something that will be physical in the end result. So this is something that you would never have to really worry about that much of, unless you were doing a tight zoom in into the mouth or something digitally. Which I guess they kind of did with Keanu in The Matrix, actually. But in this case, this is something you have to think about, especially when you're making something that will be a physical object. Questions? Side effects, thank you. Thanks for the follow. Yeah, if anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, please do. Trying to grow that. Stacks, as a beginner, is ZBrush Core a good option? Upgrade to full with more experience, or should I save the funds for the full thing? I got a bit of Blender experience. I mean, again, I've been asked this question before, and unfortunately, I haven't really. I tried ZBrush Core like a few years ago, just to dabble with it and see what it's like, and I felt more encumbered. As I like to say, I felt like I was trying to type my name with boxing gloves on. It's like, I know what I'm trying to do, but the restrictions, you know, imposed upon me prohibited me from feeling ambulatory, from really feeling like I could spread my wings and, you know, create. So I'm kind of the wrong person to ask, unfortunately, because I'm so familiar with ZBrush as the whole package, because ZBrush Core didn't even exist when I learned. And so I was kind of thrown in the deep end and just had to, like, you know, layer upon layer my knowledge and my education in it. Um, it's deceptively approachable and, you know, kind of obscurely challenging. It's both. Like it's very approachable because, you know, your brain gets clay. You get a ball of clay. You get the idea of like, oh, I see this object. I get it. I get that. Oh, I can trying to do things here and it's not letting me do them because it's still got a mask on somehow. I hate when it does that. Actual. So like I see an object, I get the move brush, right? I get this. So when you see that, and you say, all right, I get that. All right. Okay, the standard brush. It's like, people say it's like, oh, it's like, think of it like a tube of toothpaste. Like, whoop, you're just squirting something onto the surface of something else and it adds up to it. I get that. So that's all very simple. Like people, come on, people's brains will wrap around that quickly and easily. But then there's all these other menus, like, oh, then, well, wait, what's the stack here like? It's not like Photoshop where you have layers that influence each other. No, these are separate tools that occupy the same three-dimensional space. You know, you have them visible, but then you also want to, you know, perhaps hide something and work on something else. There's all these other questions I know that come up, because, you know, I was there. But so, I mean, I would advocate for just buying the full package, only because I feel like it might. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just know that, um, it's. I think it's better to have the full tool set available to you, and then maybe first thing you should learn perhaps is how to make a custom UI, which is right here. I mean, well, it's actually not right here. I mean, I don't know why you can save subpalettes, but I mean, it's actually config. And then you got enable customize. And then once you have that enabled, all you do is hold Control Alt, and, you know, let's say we come in here and I want this brush, this clay brush out here. So you hold Control Alt, drag it down here, and boom, now it's there. So that's how you basically create a custom UI. And just do that for anything you want. Don't want that? Hold Control Alt, drag it into the document, boom, deleted. So, and then once you're done, turn off Enable Customize, and then you say Save UI, Store Config, and it, you know, it's saved. That's the first thing I would think, so that you would find a way to create, not find a way, this is the way, but I mean, create your own UI where it has the restricted or the few, and that's something I could teach, again, for those who want to learn. I could teach you this and we could train this way, which I think is a more logical way, where you have the full software so we can do everything we'd want to do in the software that's possible. But we can create a personalized custom UI for you. So you say, oh, I want to learn only about certain types of brushes right now. So we can structure, we'll put all those certain brushes over here or wherever you like. You know, I have certain elements here taken away. I have other ones added, namely, you know, Sculptures Pro, and, you know, I have live boolean kind of left where it was originally when you start the software. But so there's certain things that I've placed around the frame of my UI to make my life easier. But that wouldn't inherently be the right thing for someone else, especially not for someone just starting. So I would say it's crucial to probably have the full package and then create a UI that, maybe not even restrict is the right word, but it just sort of helps you, guides you and funnels you into different paths to understand certain techniques and certain modes in ZBrush. So then it's easier for you to digest and kind of process different pieces that, you know, stair-step your knowledge, essentially, instead of being overwhelmed with just getting everything in the kitchen sink thrown in your face and you're just like, oh God, I can't, I don't know what to do with everything. Because it's very overwhelming, I know, in the beginning. You're just like, what? Like, I get it. Because I was there. But, yeah. So I don't know. I think get the whole thing and just make a custom UI that helps facilitate what you want to learn. I remember Suncoast. Remember? Remember Suncoast? Remember Jurassic Park? If everyone knows member berries from South Park. Um, da-da-da-da. Cool. All right. So right now I'm zoomed in, that's why it looks all pixelated, but it just helps to really get in here and see where things match up there. Oops. Just tapping here to blur the mask a bit. Ah. Alrighty, clear mask. I'm going to grow this out a little bit more. So we want to fill this in a little bit more. Just a tad. And that lower lip can come down, I think, a little bit. I'm just trying to fix this lip again because we got some interpenetration yet again. All right. Smooth that out. Pull it out front a little bit more because it's sort of going to come over a little bit. Same thing here. So we're kind of tucking that corner of the lower lip underneath or behind the upper lip slightly. And we want to turn the light here so it matches more, a bit more from that scene. Step it up a level. Sub D. So like that area here is a little too sharp still. And hide that. Sorry, I know it's a little boring, but it's just part of the process. I gotta make sure everything here has got the right amount of volume, otherwise, like I said, you could just have a lack of structural integrity. I don't know why South Park's coming to mind so much right now. I haven't even watched any episodes in a long time. Alrighty, I think we're getting there. I might use actually high polish here. Smooth this corner of the mouth there a little bit because it's just a little too strong of a pinch right here. All right, it's looking better. It's kind of cool actually to see it matched like that, but half and half. It's pretty cool. That's rad. Kind of almost looks like a mask. Interesting. A quick save here. Quick questions. I think of core as the gateway drug to the full. You can take advantage of the 1 month free trial and do a deep dive. Yeah, that's a good idea too. To do that. Sorry if my gain is too loud. I keep seeming to go to the red when I'm speaking. Where's my gain on this thing? All right, let me check. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. All right, I just don't want to blast you guys because I see it going to red when I'm talking a little louder. Expensive than core. Expansive than core, yeah. OC Skater is saying, how long does this take to make? Well, it's kind of hard to say in this case, only because I started the initial sculpture like a couple years ago, and then I came back to it when I got the recently when I saw there was a scan. Well, it's a game model from the game Cyberpunk, but they scanned Keanu for that as the base for the character, so it looks like Keanu. So I knew that that was probably the most accurate model out there, right, publicly available. And I bought the game like 2 times over, so I figured, hey, I'll just use the ripped model as a basis for what I had. And I wasn't too far off. I was a bit off, but also I'd stopped well into the early process of my sculpture on him. So it just would have taken longer to match up, like with profile shots and 3/4 shots, and just doing all that manual matching up would have just taken longer. So I used the scan to shortcut that and kind of match this, you know, Z project to shrink wrap it essentially to the scan. And again, the eyes of mine were a little bit further back. So the whole orbital socket was further back in. Certain parts of the head, I think I hadn't even touched yet. The back of the head was just bigger and off. So there were things that were off here and there, but I wasn't that far off, which was encouraging for someone who was, again, hadn't put in thousands of hours into it or anything. So anyway, to make this in general, I mean, I could say right now, probably like altogether what's been put into this, maybe like 20 hours, something like that. But taking that aside, it would be taking into consideration that I had the scan now, or the game model of Keanu, and my sculpture. I could even just take a regular, like, generic head. I could even just take, you know, the guy, this model. I could take this human base mesh, just chop off the head, which I'll show you guys how to do here in a minute. Actually, I could probably show you that now, and use Z-wrap and just map this face to the other head, and it would match perfectly in minutes. You know, so then you would have this great starting point, but and you'd have to go through and put the expression and put all the extra, you know, bits and pieces into it. But yeah, I'll show you guys Z-wrap here, so you guys understand what I'm talking about whenever I mention Z-wrap. But let me just save this quickly. And probably have to subdivide one more time after this just to get this cleaner. That shouldn't be popping out really. Show all. Yeah, that's looking. Definitely have to. Let's do it now, I guess, because everything's shown. Subdivide. Partially hidden. Nothing's hidden, is it? That's weird. What? Okay, I think it was a mask on or something. All right, there we are. 9 million now. And now this is looking better. I'm going to smooth some of this out from when I moved the jaw. All right, so this stuff looks interesting, but I wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah. Well, it depends how exposed you are to it. Yeah, but it's this is how we make characters for digital doubles. Basically, this is a very similar process. It's pretty much almost exactly what I've been doing. It's pretty much how you do a digi-double for a certain scene in a movie where someone gets violently thrown, killed, or doing things that maybe not even a stunt double would want to do, or that's just humanly impossible. But yeah, this is digital sculpting. Would you say a daily head sculpt is helpful for new artists or focused projects instead? I mean, it depends what you want to do. If you want to be good at sculpting people, I mean, a daily head sculpt, I wouldn't even say, I would advocate not doing everything like trying to force yourself to get a whole head done in one day. I mean, yeah, sculpting, figuring out what tools you need to learn to get better at your craft is always good. It's always good practice. Oh shit, wrong thing. Sorry, let me fix this quick. Undo. Okay, so that's where I was. All right, so I was trying to be on the hair, and then I think it switched to the head. Just trying to get the sideburns to match up here. I don't know. I would say because I'm speaking from personal preference. I was much more interested in doing projects than doing. I was always much more interested in projects than just doing a head or I like to do a complete piece or two, and then I might just do a project or like a object or two. But I was motivated myself originally when I was earlier in this process and just younger. I always stayed motivated by doing complete pieces. That always kind of got my creative juices flowing. That always got me more excited to know that I'm going to have a finished piece instead of just doing unfinished parts. Yeah, that's not something I want to do. Undo that. All right, turn off that. All right. So yeah, I'd advocate for doing full pieces. Even if it's just the head, at least finish the head, even if it takes more than one day. I think you're still going to learn a lot that way. Yeah, I've just never been a big fan of just do like gestural drawings all the time. Like, yeah, I'll do a bit of that, but I think you got to find your own voice, your own style too, and even your style of learning is unique. I don't think that people need to follow everyone else's exact process because we all learn differently. So I guess I'm probably more advocating for you do your thing. There's a certain structure that's good, of course. There's a certain level of structural education, educational structure. But I'm also a fan of you learn how you learn, and I'm not always the biggest fan of just everyone did it this way, so you should do it that way too. Not really. I think we're seeing more and more that people who really succeed and people who are exceptional and unique in the world, they don't always follow all the rules. And that just, I mean that simply in the sake of just learn how you learn, work how you need to work at times. There's certain things you have to eventually conform to or align with so that you can be hireable, right? You have to learn certain aspects of software, but how you learn them and how you get better at your craft is uniquely you. So I would say with the arts especially, take with a grain of salt what anyone's telling you when it comes to, if they're saying with this sort of definitive certainty, like you must do this and this is the only way to learn, I'd be like, yeah, thanks, buddy. Now I'm just gonna do what I want to do, to some degree. I mean, it's if you're just, you can also be spinning your wheels. That's a thing. Like a lot of people can also take that to the extreme of what I'm saying and just say like, well, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. And then just constantly draw like shitty anime characters or, and I mean shitty meaning like they're not drawing them well, or that's the only style they want to draw in. There's so many kids who are like that, or at least when I was younger, I saw that all the time and it annoyed the hell out of me because I'm like, you're not going to become a better artist that way, man. You're just sort of just tracing or copying what other people are doing or style that someone else has done. But a lot of famous anime artists, of course, learned to draw the human figure exceptionally well first. And then they started using all the knowledge of human anatomy and the basic, how you present the human physique and how you present gestures and motion and emotion. After you learn it all formally, then you can go and really, run with it and manipulate it. But I think that's that's a key point that a lot of people miss too. So yeah, create what you want to create, and it's fine to do, characters you like, in general, like what I'm doing right now. It's just, I hate the term fan art. I hate that term so much because it just sounds like it's reductionist in some way. I don't know. I think because I'm always associating anything that's fan art, a lot of it is garbage, sadly. It's like, I'm a fan of this, and I made this thing of it, this thing I'm a fan of, but it's trash. Like, sorry to say, artistically, it's not high quality. A lot of times, not always, because it depends who the artist is, of course. But so many people say, "Look, I made fan art." And it's like, someone who's very young or very young artistically, and it's I don't know, just I don't know why so much of the time when I hear fan art, it just immediately connotes an idea of like not good quality. I just prefer saying, hey, this is my tribute piece to whatever, or this is just my work of said famous character. Like, obviously, you're a fan of the thing that you're doing that everybody knows you don't own. Like, duh. Uh, so anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Trying to fix this jaw here. But yeah, so I mean, should you do a face a day? I mean, do you really want to be the world's best face sculptor? It's helpful. I mean, if you're going to be doing human faces, which a lot of us wind up doing anyway, yeah, it's helpful. But you know, it's like, what do you want to become better at? Do you want to be, again, do you just want to be a great sculptor of faces, or do you want to be just a good sculptor, period, and faces are part of it? If you're not passionate about human faces, like anything, like they say, like, don't put stuff in your portfolio that you don't want to do again. There's a lot of work I've done that I don't have on my site or on my portfolio or anywhere publicly because either I'm not really proud of it, because it was a project that I wasn't really that passionate about or interested in, or it's simply something that I did for the money and I never want to do it again. Or at least I don't want anyone to hire me to do it again because it wasn't a fun experience. I'm just not interested in doing more of X. So there's that to take into consideration too. What do you want to do? What do you want to do in the future as an artist? Make that, because a lot of times, sadly, you can say whatever you want to say. Like, I want to make this. I want to do that. I want to be good at this. But no one who's going to pay you or hire you typically cares, because they're not your friend. They're not your family member. They don't love you. So they don't care. You got to show them what you want to do, right? Unfortunately. And I mean that unfortunately only because it's like, it would be so much easier and it'd be nice to not have to like bust your ass all the time. Because I mean, I'm speaking from personal experience. Like, man, it's like I have so many great ideas for films, and it's like I'm gonna have to bust my ass to produce short films just to show people like what I'm really capable of. And it's sort of exhausting sometimes, but it'll be rewarding, of course, in the end. But it's like, man, I just wish I just had X amount of dollars and I could just hire people to help me construct films quickly and easily, and not have to bust my ass on my own just to get proof of concept out there. So, but it's always show don't tell. You always have to bust your ass in the beginning, and then after that, people will be throwing themselves or their money at you. After you've shown what you can really do, after you've proven yourself, then they come knocking. So that's always how it goes, for better or for worse. So, yeah. I don't know. So I don't know if that really helped you. I'm sorry. I don't know if that really gave you an answer at all. That's just me kind of musing over the whole thing of, should I do this way? Because I've heard so many people ask the same questions, in general, as they've come up through um, their artistic journey. And, I've asked myself some of the same questions, like, should I be doing this more? I'm sorry, I'm getting a little obsessive here. I just wanted to fix this to get this right. And I see the chat in the corner of my eye, my peripheral. I'm sorry, I will get to it in uno momento. All right, I think we're looking good. And we're at 4 o'clock, so it's about time for me to bounce. But this was good. We made some progress. Got that mouth pretty good. I mean, it's still not perfect. It's not done, but, you know, making headway. Making progress. Save that. Save the project where it is. Oh, I should save it without this guy. I don't need that in there. Oh, yeah, I will show you guys. That reminds me. I'll show you guys ZWrap here. I'll do that, and then I'll resave it. Show you ZWrap really quick, because it's pretty awesome. So with ZWrap, you want to have just 2 subtools. So we're going to delete everything else here. Don't need the eyes. And we also don't need... This has layers. So, sorry for the semi-nudity. We don't need layers. So this guy's layers, so we just want to say bake all. Leave him as he is. And we just want to chop off the head, because that's all we want. Pardon me. Okay, let's see here. Try to hide everything else. All right. And delete hidden. So now we just got the head. And well, let's divide them up once. Sure. And let's do... Yeah, once is fine. Because we want it to be quick. The more topology, the higher resolution you have, the longer it'll take. All right, so we got that. And now let's take... we could do mine that has an expression, but we'll do the original one that's more neutral because they'll match better. It's a little easier than shorter distances to cross for the software. All right, so we have the game model of Keanu, neutral pose. So now we're gonna bring him into here. Insert. There we go. Now we'll unhide the other one. All right, or make them visible. So now we want to at least line them up. This just helps everything expedite if we get them to line up. I've only done this a couple times too, so if I mess up a little bit, forgive me. I'm not claiming to be the expert. I'm not the evangelist for ZWrap. Just somebody who's used it a couple times, and I'm sure I'm going to use it again, which is why I put it on this machine. All right, so we're going to move this guy up. Turn on transparent just so we can see. And we'll kind of match these guys in as close as possible position to each other. And you can see here, this face is perfectly symmetrical, and then it gives you a perspective on Mr. Reeves's asymmetry, as we all have. You know, no face is really perfectly symmetrical. I mean, maybe there's some freak of nature out there who is, but genetics and human traits just naturally make all of our facial features slightly off symmetry. But all right, so we're in the general. I'm trying to keep it in like the most average of all axes placement. So all I'm doing is just moving them around right now. Oops. So I think that's about an average approximation of where one face is in relation to the other. I think I could probably even do with a little rotation. Yeah. Come on. Center. Reset that. And rotate a little bit. Okay. Okay. So we have them approximately lined up. And I think I heard a knock at the door, but I'll get to it in 1 sec. All right, so this is the package being dropped off, I think. Okay, so we got them lined up. So I'm trying to remember now which one we want the target. I think we want the target on top, or the, yeah, and the original on the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, come down here, we go to ZWrap, we click Start ZWrap. So it's taking the 2 of them. It's loading up. It's showing me on the other screen right now the loading menu, and here we are. So now we're in ZWrap. So we want to select points. All right. We also want to trying to remember this. Do we want to match? left and right. I guess we do want to do x-axis. Even though it's not symmetrical, though, that's the thing. This guy's symmetrical, but this one's not. Well, that's the other thing, too. I think we can keep symmetry on this guy and leave this one asymmetrical. Or do we want to do both asymmetrical? I'm trying to remember now. Probably want to do both asymmetrical, I guess, because this guy's asymmetrical, so I believe that would make sense. All right, so we want to sync view. I'm going to tap that, so now they move together. And we want to start with selecting points. So you're basically telling it, this point should be, this area should match this area. It's really simple, right? So I'm going to zoom in here. And we'll start with the eye. Again, this will be quick and dirty, so it may not be a perfect alignment, but it'll be close. And it's like that area will be something like that. And this area would be probably that. So we're basically going to say these points are going to move to this, right? That's what we're doing. And that little nose will be that area. That is that. That is that. Sorry, I missed a bunch of chat quick. What do you say, daily households? What do you want? We want to build a 3D character. Is 3 days enough when you know what you're doing? Is 3 days enough for a character? No. I mean, well, it depends on how detailed the character is. But in general, I would say for a full character, when you're doing clothes and just everything, minimum to average, I would say, would be a good 2 weeks work weeks. So 10 days, 5 days and 5 days. That's a tight but comfortable-ish time. You know, I mean, I think more time is better, of course. But if you have to have a realistic timeline, I still think 2 weeks is fair. Still pretty tight, but it's doable. I think ideally 3 weeks is like great. That's like comfortable. I feel like I feel better paced. In that sense, 2 weeks feels kind of tight for the whole character. But yeah, so that's my opinion. But if it's not a whole character, it's just an object, a prop, something else in the scene. Yeah, I mean, 3 days is no problem. That's fine. That's fair. Still a little punchy. You know what I mean? Like you're still moving a little bit. You're pushing it. Like you're moving. Like you're not like lackadaisically creating something. You're still, if you got 3 days, and it's a decently detailed object or character, that's you're moving. But yeah, I mean that's fair. Again, that's like a fair amount of time, and it's to be expected. All right, so you're getting the gist of this here. Just tapping points, saying this goes there. And undo that. So ZWrap is $99 for a year subscription. I know they used to have a permanent option or perpetual license, but I don't think they offer that anymore, unfortunately. I'm a big fan of perpetual licenses. I kind of hate subscriptions, but oh well. Gotta do what you gotta do. So the more points, the more accurate it'll be, but it also will take a little bit more time. But on a pretty strong machine, it won't take that long. I don't think. So So this is great for when you have, essentially, in case you don't know, this isn't just great for just matching one topology to another, but let's say you have a raw scan of someone, which is often the case, and it creates it. What it does is a scanner will create a point cloud, so it creates like millions of these little points, dots all over someone's face, and that creates a three-dimensional mesh where it connects all those points to create polygons, and uh, that creates the shape of what you're looking at. So, but it's all messed up. It's not clean. It's not animatable because you need nice edge loops so that when they move, it deforms naturally. Instead of if it was animated with all the triangles, you would just see all this colliding and pinching of triangles and look horrible. So that's why we need all these edge loops in specific places in a specific order. So yeah. Wait, did I miss something? Because these all should line up. I feel like I did an error somewhere here. So yeah, I was right around the ear. I think I tapped on him instead of him first. Derp. 43, 44, and 44. Okay, yeah, so that's... Alright, yeah, that's it. So, alright. 44, 44. Alright, there we go. So yeah, I gotta make sure that those things stay in order. Otherwise, I think it can screw things up a bit. See, I almost did it right there. We're almost done here. I should have masked the mouth, so that might create some problems. I forgot to do that. Because it does respect, come on. It does respect, does respect masks. I'm not sure it respects back faces. Yeah, it doesn't do that, apparently. So that mouth bag might be a mess, unfortunately. It'll probably be conformed to some area here, and it might look all weird, and might come up to the lips or something else. So sorry about that. I forgot all about that, and it doesn't want to let me do inside. So that may be a fail, but otherwise, I think we'll look okay. The outside should still look good. All right, I think we are good to go. So I'm gonna wrap this stream up with, this should work. If it doesn't, then it'll be hilarious. Okay, so what else you can do, just for fun here, we can save. We can save points, so we can say this as, put this back in the matrix folder and say, what do we call this? Let's say Keanu. Keanu scan points. And then we can save these guys as target points. So now in case anything happens, we want to load these back up. If something fails, we can bring this back up as it is, which is great. Okay, so now we've got that. We got that done. So now you don't want to click done. I've done that before. We do all this work and you click done. And you're like, ah, no. So you want to come here to wrapping next. So now you can see how everything's kind of like lining up on top of each other. We'll zoom in here a little bit. And now you can do preferences here. You can tweak all this stuff. I think we'll just leave it as is for now, just for the sake of time. Do we want to match scale? I mean, the scale's pretty close. But sure, we can... Oh, no, it's about the same. All right. Rigid alignment. No. So I just want to go start wrapping. So let that go. Should be pretty quick here because it's not too high poly and the machine that I'm working with is pretty good. And almost there. But this shows you how fast you can get a match. So let's say the scan was all messy topology and the one I'm targeting is really clean topology. You're going to get something here that's clean topology that matches Keanu's face one-to-one and in minutes, really, instead of hours of trying to like mash everything together. And while it's processing, I will check out what's in the chat. Agreed. What's this ZRAP thing you said you were going to show? This is it. It's funny, you touched on the reductive side of fan art and digital sculpting in general, more in the art world than in industry. I think even within the art, curators think digital work. Is all from assets or is it simple or as simple as hitting the make art button? Also, please continue the series here. Very good content. Thank you. Jason, I'm happy you're enjoying it. Does ZREP cost anything? Yes, it's $100 for a year. It's not too bad at all. Vero, who is he? This is Keanu. Or who am I? Are you asking? I don't know. Oh, it costs money kind of a bit. Can't read skin. Yep. 3 days? Oh, well. It took years for some of the characters and God of War characters. All right. Z-wrapping process. is finished. All right, so now we're done. So now we say done. And it's processing. Please don't crash. Boom. Voila. So now you can see how tightly like mine was done, how it's wrapped. It's all very tight. The mouth, let's see how bad the mouth is. Hey, it's actually not, I mean, it is bad, but it's not like horrific. So again, we can tell which one was which because the scan was yellow, and the original one, or the Target one that I brought in from Nick Z, was this purple with multicolored eyes. So scan from Cyberpunk and Z-wrapped. Not perfect. Again, eyelids can get a little wonky, so you can see that. So I should have put more points in the eyes. But that's an easy fix even at this point. You know, it's not horrible. But eyes, you probably want to put a lot more points on the eyes. That's something to remember, because eyelids, there's such that folding and, you know, tight geometry around itself. So anyway, yeah. So Z-Wrap is pretty awesome. I gotta say, I love it. It's great. It takes time, but, you know, not nearly as much time as it would take if you were to, like, try to hand do and match everything, or just even doing what I was doing before, which was the Z-Wrap, you know, or Z-Project, I mean, brush, you know. But here you can use that. Well, you can use that to help fix some of these things too, you know. So you have Z add here because you want it to raise up to the other one to match. So you just do that here. You know, and you know, there'd be a lot more hand tweaking that I think you'd want to do here, but this is just a quick example. You know, and you can even whoops. Wrong thing. And we could even subdivide this up once to kind of add a little bit more geo, help it match a little bit better. But it's also bringing in the other eyelid underneath there, so that's a problem. So yeah, again, you know, and that's what helps with these polygroups. So you can say, oh, I don't want that to be pulled up, so you mask that. And we can see it's even come through here. Oops. So we hit smooth. Kind of push that back, then invert mask, then see the other one, and now do Z project, and now it'll bring it up a bit more without pulling in the inner eye socket. Helps to bring this down. You probably should have had this one lower. Should have had the scan at a lower sub D. But anyway, so yeah, this just gives you an idea, just to show you, you know, how you can use Z-Wrap, and it'll just help you match a human face very quickly with nice topology. So you can see this topology is great. This one's also fine because it's from the game. A little bit messier. I mean, there's like, you know, this sort of triangulation and how it's structured here is a little bit still, this area here looks a little odd, but it's fine. But this is clearly very organized, structured, clean edge loops everywhere, ready to animate. And yeah, so anyway, I should get going here. We have someone else streaming at 5, so I don't want to infringe on their time. Let's just finish up chat. Months, yeah. 99 for indie, yeah. Transfer. This is Z-Wrap. So if you can rewind the stream, but basically this is Z-Wrap. So it's just a $99 piece of software plugin for ZBrush that lets you wrap any object, especially faces, to match one with clean topology to one that may be a scan or just has undesirable topology, edge loops. So this lets you match them very quickly and easily. When I see points in the head, it almost looks like acupuncture. Doctor's photo. Yeah. Oh, and everyone's replying to you. Cool. Is this ZBrush plugin for morphing between two similar objects? Yes, Marco. Do you have a general price range for your tutoring? Just curious. Yeah, I mean, it'll depend on what everyone wants to learn or what you're looking for. But yeah, I mean, generally, if we're doing like 45 minutes, it'll probably be about $50. If you're looking to do an hour, we're probably looking at more like 60 to 70. And going from there. That's general pricing. So there you go, Exodus. I got live casting, and that's a deal, dude. I know some people won't be like, that's expensive, but that's, trust me, that's slow. That's slow for a lot of top tier training in general. Do you have a general? We got live casting of Trinity's. We got live casting of Trinity's face. Oh, face mask for. Oh, awesome side effects. Very cool. I'm assuming. Oh, face mask for her. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, dude. Carrie-Anne Moss is awesome. Like, she's great. I mean, she really blew up with The Matrix, but man, she's a great actress. I like her a lot. I remember. I think one of the. It's funny. It was a supporting role, but I remember her in. Was it Suburbia? Is that what it was called? Or Sir, what was it? It was Shia LaBeouf was her son, and she was his mom. And I remember he suspected his neighbor of being a murderer because he got under house arrest or something. It's been years since I've seen it. Disturbia, that's what it was. Disturbia. It was disturbing. Yeah. But I remember she stood out in that role for me for some reason, just because I think it was one of the big roles she had, or one of the or more like prominent ones she had after Matrix. But the one that surpassed that for me was definitely her role in Memento, Christopher Nolan's big breakout film, second film, I guess. But man, because in one, you look at her in one way when you see it in the broken up chronological order, and when you watch the film, if you have the special edition DVD, you can put in a code and it will put the whole film in chronological order, and it makes her look 10 times worse. Like, it's somehow the disorder of things, you don't feel like she's as manipulative as she is, and how much worse it seems to me. How much. Oh man, there's the package. Anyway, I'm sorry. Ein, it's okay. Okay, you want a treat? You got a treat, but you gotta be quiet. No more barking. No. If you want a treat, you gotta be quiet. No barking. Anyway, yeah. So you should watch Memento in chronological order. It's awesome. If you guys can get the special edition DVD, it just makes everyone taking advantage of him just looks so much worse. It's so sad. Guy Pearce's character, I forget his name right now. Downloading ZBrush now. Can't wait to check it out. Yeah, Mega Kyle, you are making the right choice. Odell Palmer, hell yeah, dude. Odell, how you doing, sir? All right, not bad. Exodus, yeah. I'm not trying to gouge people here. All right, so friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. We are wrapping up, no pun intended, here on this piece for today. Happy with the progress. Things are looking good. I think we're getting there. Matching up pretty well. I think probably next stream we should be hitting that final mark for the face and able to move on to the full regalia, everything else, his costume, his shades, and all the weaponry that he had discharged. It's really going to be probably one Uzi in the background, and then he'll be in the air. Because for those who may not know, I'm not doing just this static photo, but we're actually, the final product is going to be a great representation of this scene, but with the leg making contact with this poor guy's face. So they cut to this shot when his leg actually strikes the victim in the head, and then they snap back to this shot after he struck the guy, and the guy's already made like a 180 flip. So it's going to be between all of this. It's going to be at this moment, but he's going to be in this pose, essentially. It's going to be pretty righteous, pretty awesome, just that penultimate peak moment of just him striking with arms in the air, and his expression is going to be this, basically. That's why I've been using this shot, because if you zoom in, I think this is just a much more cool, focused, controlled look, and the expression he has in in this shot, like I've said before, as we all make funny faces when we're doing something strenuous or extreme or just focused, his expression here is a bit more force, a bit more like, and it looks a little funny. So I think that I'm sort of blending the best of the best together and taking this expression, and he'll have the shades on, and this will be his his eyes will be looking downward, and yeah, that'll be expression. So hair's not done, don't judge too harshly, but yeah, I think we're getting there. And based off the scan, that was the basis before, we've got his expression, his face pretty well matched, so feeling good. All right, guys. Take care. If you have any questions, please email me or about classes or whatever or mentoring. Email me or message me on Instagram. I'll throw all that stuff in here one more time. Nice to see you guys again too. Thank you. Cost reasonable me. Just have questions all set up to go to make time useful. Just have to have questions all set up ready to go. Yeah, for sure. Probably are late, sir, Mr. Dwar, but you can rewind. We can watch this again. Yeah, next stream is in 20 minutes. You are right. Do I have 3D prints for sale? I mean, yeah, I do on my site. You can go to linearts.com. But this, I'm not sure I can't really sell it technically because it's not my IP. But we'll see if anybody wants to throw me a license. If Warner Brothers is out there, or if Keanu can pull some strings, that'd be awesome. I'd love to like, sell this to. I mean, once this is done, if a company like Sideshow or Prime One or Iron Studios or whoever, if anyone has a Matrix license, if they'd like to purchase this off of me to mass produce, I would be down with that. We could talk shop. But to reach me again, guys, email for those who have joined later or would like to ask any questions. Let me get that out of the way. Email me at daniel@linearts.com. My site, linearts.com. And Twitter and IG and YouTube, it's all that, .com/ at Daniel Linearts. There's IG, Twitter, and then youtube.com/ Daniel Linearts. You can see my work and contact me there. Send me a DM if you're interested in any classes or private tutoring. Let me know. And we can schedule something for a weekly, monthly, or, whatever, even daily class schedule if you guys are that intense, if you're that into it. But yeah, thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. Ladies and gents, take care. Harry, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, sir. Thanks for all the kind words. And please leave a like on the videos, please. And if you have a nice comment, like any of the ones you put in chat, please feel free to leave them in the video on YouTube as well. If you're watching this in the future, please do so as well. All right, thank you again, and take care. We'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you next Tuesday. Not this coming Tuesday, but next week Tuesday. All right.